Good morning, friends. How are you today? Good, good, me too. Oh man, today's a really exciting day because I got some great things to share with you today. Today's the day we're talking about dragons. During our week of talk of fairy tale and mythical creatures, I hope you're ready to join me. And you may have noticed something a little different back here. You like my background? Yep, it looks like I am outside in a field somewhere peaceful. I thought that you guys might enjoy that, and I think it's really pretty and beautiful. Always a beautiful day outside. Oh, who's got this one little guy right here? Hello. Woo! Little moth. So, today, as I said, we will be talking about dragons. Dragons. We'll be singing about dragons, doing poetry readings about dragons, and I will be sharing some of my favorite dragon toys with you today. So, if you don't have them already, maybe during the break, go get your own toys and show me what you got. We'll go back and forth. How does that sound? I'll share one, show it to you, and then you share one and show it to me. All right. Without further ado, let's get started. Now, despite all that talk about dragons, let's go ahead and take a look at what we were talking about just the other day. We're talking about dragons today. Do you remember what we were talking about on Monday? What were we talking about? I'll give you a hint. Unicorns, that's right. And I promised that when we got together, I'm going to scoot up my chair a little bit so I can be closer to you, that I would share the end result because my craft painting had to dry, and here it is. Oh, goodness. All right, showing the background a little bit there. Oh, gosh. All right, if you're seeing the bars there, don't worry about that. So, one thing that Miss Mithril is going to have to be keeping in mind from now on is I can't wear certain colors, at least not right now until I get this fixed. Basically what you're seeing is, what I see is a big green sheet. Like, remember the other day we had the big green sheet? If you don't know what I'm talking about, feel free to run back to episode 16. And 15 I think had it as well, maybe. But at least episode 16 has the green backdrop. That's really what's there behind me. But we were able to use digital technology and use that green screen to make it look like there is a gorgeous backyard back there with me. And I'm sitting there in my chair. I guess the only thing I'm missing now is a tall glass of cold lemonade, huh? Anyway, the colors of the contrast are kind of fighting with the colors of this horn right now, which you may have been able to tell already is yellow. As you can see there, I got some swirlies. I gotta go, whoa, whoop, whoop, whoop. And I put the spiral on the horns, and I put some glitter glue on it just to give it more effect. Oh goodness, this is really hard to share right now. That's okay. You know what? Well, we're growing and learning more ways to make this show fun for you, and as with anything, even adults learn new things. You know, there's never a time where you stop learning. If you ever thought that when I grow up I'm going to know everything, the truth is there's always something new to learn because we learn from each other. And there's just so much in the world out there that we can see and hear and feel, and just to stop learning is to stop growing, actually. All right, so one thing I added to it, what will this do? Yeah, it's doing just fine. A golden bow. Kind of like the one that was in our Goldalicious story, huh? So I can put it right there. And now I have a bow on the horn. This bow was left over from Christmas last year. I just thought it was way too neat. Alright. Another bow on the way. Oh, look at that, I'm a unicorn. Oh, look at that. If I was a kitty cat, I'd be batting at that all day. playing with the bow. What do you think? Alright, well, it's definitely hard to tell like this, but I am pretending I am Goldalicious, the unicorn. You can call me Goldie for short. Here, let me let down my lustrous locks. Fortunately for me, I really do have curly hair. No, it's not quite as golden as her hair, but it works. Maybe if I pull my hair over to one side, maybe I look more horses. Give me a long nose. Yay! Oh, I'm having way too much fun with this. Alright, so again, if you have your own horn that you want to post about, or if you are inspired now to make your very own, be sure to watch the first video, episode 16. All the directions there and the supplies are listed there, as well as on one of the posts letting you know what all you need to make your own horn. And remember, it can be any color or any size you want it to be. Oh, and fun fact, if you were to put 2 horns rather than just one on the same string, then you could actually have monster horns. Which is funny because we are going to be reading about monsters in general on Friday. So get ready for that. Hope you're excited. I'm excited to share the story with you. Alright, so take a look at our schedule, and oh, look at that, more fun with letters. Do you see something crazy happening here, friends? What's going on? Yep, Miss Mithril couldn't find any replacement letters that were not green. So I get them on there. You might notice some of the letters are looking like the background. Oh, when me and my team took a look at that, it's like, oh no. But I was like, actually, it looks like a lot of fun. I like it. Look at, ooh. And this is, again, this is only the green letters that are doing this. Ooh. Oh, I love it. So we have the letters O and T over here, and L and E are green and being crazy. All right. So we're going to start things off with our story. So we got the little marker going there. Okay. I have picked out some special ones from this book. And I am going to take a quick second to turn off the green screen because I'm having fun with this, but as you can see, it's kind of hard to show you the book. Look at the back there. The background of the big circle here is green, and it's making me and the background appear. Man, I'm having way too fun with this. Well, hold on. What happened if I did this? Oh my gosh! Oh, that's so cool. Well, that kind of works, doesn't it? You know what? We're keeping the green screen. You know, we're keeping our green screen. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. Maybe I am having too much fun with this. Personally, I'm thinking this is kind of fun, and I'm just getting this off the top of my head. But I want to hear your thoughts about it. So, if you want to let me know about that, be sure to give me a message. Alrighty. For that, we are going to start with our stories now. This book right here is called The Dragons Are Singing Tonight, and is a storybook, a lot like the stories that we read every day. But in this book, there are pages filled with poems. Do you know what a poem is? We have different kinds of ways of writing things with our words. Poems are one of them. They're kind of like really short stories, and they have a pattern or a beat to them. So poems usually involved rhyming words, and you have one line where you say something, and then you have another line where you say something else, and the last words sometimes rhyme. I'll show you what I mean. Let's see, how's this page? Oh, not too bad. Now this is a long poem, but as you can see there, oh, there goes the background again. As you can see, the words are long, and they are making these lines in their sentences. Alright. Oh my gosh. Like, the picture is supposed to be they're singing at nighttime, but look at that. The background is getting finicky, and it looks like they're singing in the middle of our field. Oh gosh. Okay, I gotta stop. Anyway, I'm not going to read the whole entire book. It's really long, despite how it might not look all that big. But I picked out some very special ones I think you'll appreciate. So I'm going to go run and get that list. Maybe just 1 minute. I'll be right back. As I was saying, the list is not quite where I expected it to be. So I may have to very well use my memory. Not a problem at all. Alright, Nasty Little Dragon is the first one we will read. Nasty Little Dragon song. I'm a nasty, nasty dragon. I've been nasty since my birth. When it comes to nasty dragons, I'm the nastiest on earth. I'm a nasty, nasty temper, and my breath is nasty too. I was nasty to my parents. I'll be nastier to you. It's my nature to be nasty. Nasty, nasty, night and day. I will act completely nasty. If you're in my nasty way, yet I largely pass unnoticed as I nastily go by. I'm a nasty, nasty dragon, just a nasty half-inch high. Oh, and there's the little dragon there. And he is in fact green. Look at that, what's he got wrapped around his tail there? Baseball bat. And look, he's so small. Little boy's feet, he doesn't even come up past his shoelaces. Alright, this one is called My Dragon Wasn't Feeling Good. Take a good look at the picture book. Aww, poor little sick dragon. Aw, he has to drink his fluids. It doesn't look like he drinks the same thing we do when we're sick. What do we drink when we don't feel good? Yup, juice. Maybe apple juice, orange juice. It says, my dragon wasn't feeling good. My dragon wasn't feeling good. He has a nasty chill and couldn't keep from shivering. I saw that he was ill. His eyes were red and watery. His nose was running too. His flame was but a fizzle, and his cheeks were pallid blue. I took him to a doctor just as quickly as I could, a specialist in dragons, and she's in our neighborhood. She took his pulse and temperature, then fed him turpentine and phosphorus and gasoline. My dragon's doing fine. See the little girl up at the top? taking good care of her dragon. Oh, he's got a little runny nose and his eyes are red and watery. So did you hear any words that sounded similar? What words were rhyming? His nose was running too. His flame butt was a fizzle. And his cheeks were pallid blue. Two and blue sound the same. What other words did we hear? Just as quickly as I could, a specialist in dragons, and she is in our neighborhood. Could, neighborhood, at the end they sound the same. Oh, here we go. This one is very short. Dragon brag. Once upon a happenstance, I met a knight in armor. I fixed my flame upon his lance. It was a 4-alarmer. This dragon is bragging to its babies, saying that there was a knight in armor that came along, but don't worry, I put him out with my flamey breath. And there's the babies sitting on their tail. What do you think? Could that be mommy or daddy? What do you think? A mommy or daddy dragon? Oh. Oh, okay. This is a really good one. I am Boom. I am Boom, the thunder dragon, taller than the tallest trees. I stir whirlwinds when I whisper, mighty cyclones when I sneeze. Fishes shiver in the ocean when I tread upon the shore. I make earthquakes and volcanoes when I roar, roar, roar! Can you make a roar? Let's do it together. Ready? On the count of 3. Got a big roar? 1, 2, 3. Roar! I am Boom, the thunder dragon. All the earth is my domain. When I flap my wings in fury, I create a hurricane. Lions vanish at my footsteps. Eagles tremble at my glance. And the mountains start to rumble when I dance, dance, dance. Giants fly into a panic when I rear my massive head. When I snort my searing fires, fearless ogres faint with dread. If you've ever seen me coming, you'd better give me room. I am Boom, the thunder dragon. I am Boom, boom, boom. And here is what the dragon looks like that we just read about. Wow, look how massive he is. Like the animals he talks about in this poem, would you be afraid too? What do you think? All right. We got time for one more. Oh, I know which one I'm looking for. Actually, that one's not so long. We can do 2. Oh, here we go. The dragons are singing tonight. Tonight is the night all the dragons awaken their lairs underground to sing in cacophonous chorus and fill the whole world with their sound. They sing of the days of their glory. They sing of their exploits of old, of maidens and knights, and of fiery fights and guarding vast catches of gold. Some of their voices are treble, and some of their voices are deep, but all their voices are thunderous, and no one can get any sleep. I lie in my bed and I listen, enchanted and filled with delight, to songs I can hear only one night a year. The dragons are singing tonight. Look at that. Come on. Hold on, let me fix that. For a second we got a beautiful night sky. There we go. So as you can see, all the dragons are sitting. They're so big that they're just standing on a mountain like it was their roost. Sounds like a good story to hear, or a good poem to hear right before you go to sleep, huh? Alright, and after that I had one more I wanted to share. Here we go. If you don't believe in dragons, it is curiously true that the dragons you disparage choose not to believe in you. So if you don't believe in dragons, guess what? They probably don't believe in you either. Funny twist. See the little boy walking home at night? He glances at the imaginary dragon. Glances right back at him. This is one of my most favorite books that I own. I have enjoyed reading it with you today. Alright, let's see. Let's go ahead and get out our funny looking schedule. Alright, so we have the word story there. Put the marker down and bring it down to fun. Alright. I like to think that we have already been having some fun. Give it that big check mark. You ready? And I'll tell you what. Can you make a motion in the air to help me with the check mark? Like this. You go down a little bit and then up. A big swipe up, down, up. That's how you make a check. Alright, you ready? We're going to do it together on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Down, up. We move the marker down to fun. Alright. Next, I am going to sing you a song. Maybe you've heard this song before, maybe not. Either way, I am happy to share with you today. That rhymed. Maybe I should write that down and be a poem. Ooh, excuse me. Now, this is a song I enjoyed singing when I was little. It is a very old song, and it's a little sad, but it's got a great story at the same time about a dragon. Because, well, at least it's sad to grown-ups. First, when I was little, I used to feel that it sounded sad. And as I got older, I realized the words were a little sad too. But it's still a great story. Let me sing it to you and see what you think. Alright, I'm going to pull up the lyrics real quick. It's been a long time since I've sang it. Alright. Alright. Kind of wish I had an instrument to play. Let's see. I'm going to have a friend sit with me while I sing it. Oh, goodness. Oh, no. Whoops. No worries. I moved the chair too much, and it made something on the desk fall. This is one of my toy dragons that I have, and her name is Magic. As you can see here, it's what's called a Beanie Baby. Have you ever seen one of these? It's a special tag. She's got the little white, pearly, shiny wings. A long, curled tail. A friend actually gave this one to me, but I take very good care of her. Her name is Magic, and her name is right there on her necklace. Alright, I'm going to hold Magic while I sing the song Puff the Magic Dragon. You ready? Puff the magic dragon lived by the sea and frolicked in the autumn mist in a land called Honolulu. Puff the magic dragon lived by the sea and frolicked in the autumn mist in a land called Honolulu. Little Jackie Paper loved that rascal Puff and brought him things and oh goodness, I'm so sorry, I've forgotten that part. No! Pull it up real quick. I pulled it. Oh, goodness me. Let me see if I can get some better lyrics. I am so sorry, friends. I am so sorry. I was ready, but I guess I didn't realize that not all the lyrics was here. Maybe I should have printed this out. Yeah, that would have served me much better. Oh, goodness. All right. Puff the magic dragon lived by the sea and frolicked in the autumn mist in a land called Honolulu. Little Jackie Paper loved that rascal Puff and brought him strings and sealing wax and other fancy stuff. Oh, Puff the magic dragon lived by the sea and frolicked in the autumn mist in a land called Honolulu. Together they would travel on a boat with billowed sail. Jack kept a lookout on the perch of Puff's gigantic tail. Noble kings and princes would bow where they came. Pirate ships would lower their flag when Puff roared out his name. Oh, Puff the magic dragon lived by the sea and frolicked in the autumn mist in a land called Honolulu. Together, whoops. A dragon lives forever, but not so little boys. Painted wings and giant rings made way for other toys. One gray night it happened, Jackie Paper came no more, and Puff that mighty dragon ceased his fearless roar. Oh, Puff the magic dragon lived by the sea and frolicked in the autumn mist in a land called Honolulu. His head was bent in sorrow, green scales felt like rain. Puff no longer went to play along the cherry lane. Without his lifelong friend, Puff could not be brave. So Puff that mighty dragon sadly slipped into his cave. Oh, Puff the magic dragon lived by the sea and frolicked in the autumn mist in a land called Honolulu. Oh, Puff the magic dragon lived by the sea and frolicked in the autumn mist in a land called Honolulu. Yay! Oh, I beg your pardon of the floof there. Oh, goodness. See, I had all the big words on a big screen for me, and when I started to read it, I noticed the words were not correct. It was skipping some of the song. I was like, no, I want to give them the entire song. Well, just goes to show me that when we start things up, read through things more thoroughly and more carefully before we start the show. Oh, which I will strive to do. So that's the fun part of our segment today. You ready to help me give it another check? Alrighty. Get out your big check fingers. And we're going to go down and up. Check. Alright, now it is time for our tale. Oh, not like the dragon's tail. Not like that. But our fairy tale. Okay. So, as you remember, on Monday we started the story Peter Pan. And if you have never heard the story of Peter Pan before, then this would be new to you. But if you have, you might have noticed some differences of this story. Instead of listening to it with a CD, I'm going to be reading it fully myself from here on out. We finished chapters 1 through 4. So we did chapter 1, 2, 3, 4. And today we're going to do chapters 5 through 9. So we'll do chapter 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's a total of 14 chapters, and we will see if we can fit in the rest on Friday. If there's anything left over after that, then we will put it over into next Monday. But without further ado, I will get the book ready. Take a little sippy sip of water. And I'm going to get a little bit of music ready. Hang tight, we'll be back in just a moment. Pardon me about that, friends. I was just making sure that the show was not frozen. And I think I would have been devastated if it just suddenly stopped there and I had to start over. But everything's fine. Whew, a little bit of a scare there. Regardless, if that were to happen, I would still carry on with the show. I'd boot it back up and we'd have an episode 17 part 2. So as you may remember, we had the Darling's house that we visited. And in the story, there was a visit from Peter Pan, the little boy from Never Never Land. And in the middle of the night, he came back to get his shadow, which had been trapped by the dog Nana. If you remember, the dog Nana is their protective dog, very protective. And she only barks when there's like a bit of trouble, so she thought the shadow was there to hurt the children. Somehow, Wendy was able to trap it into a drawer. Peter Pan came to get it, and his friend Tinker Bell was helping him, and she accidentally got trapped too. So, it woke Wendy up, who came to investigate, learned about Peter Pan, who continued to tell her about the wonders of Neverland, and the fact that there are so many boys there, but not a single girl. So that means no mothers. Well, she volunteered to be a mother. Alright, and we'll continue now. Now, I'm sure you noticed last week, whenever you see this picture right here, what do you think that is? It means the start of a chapter. We are beginning on chapter 5 today. Chapter 5, The Flight. Second to the right, and straight on till morning. That, Peter had told Wendy, was the way to Neverland. John and Michael raced, Michael getting a start. They recalled that not so long ago they had thought themselves fine fellows for being able to fly around a room. Not so long ago, but how long ago? They were flying over the sea before this, and thought that began to disturb Wendy seriously. John thought it was their second sea, and their third night. Sometimes it was dark, and sometimes it was light, and now they were very cold, and again too warm. Certainly they did not pretend to be sleepy. They were sleepy, and that was a danger. For the moment they popped off, down they fell. Peter could sleep in the air without falling, by merely lying on his back and floating, but this was, partially at least, because he was so light that if you ever got behind him and blew him, he went faster. They drew near to the Neverland. There it is, said Peter calmly. Where? Where? Wendy and John and Michael stood on tiptoe in the air to get their first sight of the land. There's a pirate asleep in their pajamas just beneath us, Peter said. If you like, we'll go down and kill him. Suppose, John said, a little huskily, he were to wake up. Peter spoke indignantly. You don't think I would kill him while he was sleeping. I would wake him first and then kill him. It's the way I always do. I say, do you kill many? Tons. He asked if there were many pirates on the island just now, and Peter had said he'd never known so many. Who's the captain? Hook, answered Peter. James Hook? Aye. Then indeed Michael began to cry, and even John could speak in gulps only, for they knew Hook's reputation. He was the Blackbeard Beau's son, John whispered huskily. He's the worst of 'em all. That's him, said Peter. What is he like? Is he big? He's not so big as he was. How do you mean? What's that we see right there in the picture? A pirate's hat. I caught off a bit of him. But I say, what bit? His right hand. Then he can't fight now. Oh, can't he just? He has an iron hook instead of a right hand, and he claws with it. Claws, gasped the children. There's one thing, Peter continued, that every boy who serves under me has to promise, and so must you. It is this. If we meet Hook in open fight, you must leave him to me. I promise, John said loyally. For the moment they were feeling less eerie, because Tink was flying with them, and in her light they could distinguish each other. Unfortunately, she could not fly so slowly as they, so she had to go around and around and around them in a circle, and when they moved as in a halo. Wendy quite liked it until Peter pointed out the drawback. Here's a picture of part of the ship. She tells me, he said, that the pirates sighted us before the darkness came, and it got Long Tom, the big gun, out. And of course they must see her light if they guess we're near, and they're sure to let fly. Tell her to go away at once, Peter, the three cried simultaneously, but he refused. She thinks we've lost the way, he replied stiffly, and she's rather frightened. You don't think I would send her away all by herself when she's frightened? For a moment the circle of light was broken, and something gave Peder a loving little pinch. "Then tell her," Wendy begged, "to put out her light." "She can't put it out. That is about the only thing fairies can't do. It just goes out on itself when she falls asleep, same as the stars. If only one of us had a pocket," Peder said, "we could carry her in it." However, they had set off in such a hurry that there was not a pocket between the four of them. Then he had a happy idea. John's hat. Tink agreed to travel by hat if it was carried in the hand. Wendy took the hat, and this, as we shall see, led to mischief, for Tinker Bell hated to be under an obligation to Wendy. Suddenly, the air was rent by the most tremendous crash they had ever heard. The pirates had fired Long Tom at them. No one had been hit, but Peder, however, had been carried by the wind of the shot so far out to sea, while Wendy was blown upwards with no companion but Tinker Bell. It would have been well for Wendy if at that moment she had dropped the hat. I don't know whether the idea came suddenly to Tink, or whether she had planned on it on the way, but she at once popped out of the hat and began to lure Wendy to her destruction. Tink was not all bad, or rather she was all bad just now, but on the other hand sometimes she was all good. At present Tinker Bell was full of jealousy of Wendy. What she said to her lovely Tinkle Wendy could not of course understand, but sounded kind, and she flew backward and forward, plainly meaning, "Follow me, and all will be well." What else could poor Wendy do? And so, bewildered, and now staggering in her flight, she followed Tink to her doom. Tink's not being very nice right now to Wendy, is she? Oh, goodness. So they were flying high up in the air, and Captain Hook's pirate ship had noticed them because of Tink's light. And they began to fire. Chapter 6. The Island Come True. On this evening, the chief forces of the Neverland were disposed as follows. The Lost Boys were out looking for Peder. The pirates were out looking for the Lost Boys. And the Redskins were out looking for the pirates. And the beasts were out looking for the Redskins. They were going around and around on the island, but they did not meet because all were going in the same rate. Let us pretend to lie here among the sugar cane and watch them. The Lost Boys steal by first, and they wear the skins of bears slain by themselves, in which they are so round and furry that when they fall, they roll. They have therefore become very sure-footed. The first to pass is Toodles. Next comes Nibs, followed by Slightly, Curly is fourth, and last come the twins. The Lost Boys live underground. They vanish in the gloom, and after a pause come to the pirates on the track. A more villainous-looking lot never hung in a row on such an execution dock. Here is by handsome Italian Secco. Here is Bill Jukes, and Cookson, and Gentleman Starkey, and Skylights, and the Irish boatswain Smee, and Noodler, whose hands were fixed on backwards, and many other ruffians long unknown. So the story's telling us about how all these different creatures and people are going around hunting for each other in a big circle. So the beasts are going after the Redskins, right here. The Redskins are going after the pirates. The pirates are going after the Lost Boys. And the Lost Boys are going after the beasts. All going in a circle. In the midst of them reclined James Hook. He lay at his ease in a rough chariot drawn and propelled by his men, and instead of a right hand he had the iron hook with which ever and anon he encouraged them to increase their pace. Arr! In person he was cadaverous, and his hair was dressed in long curls, and his eyes were blue of the forget-me-not. That's a type of flower. A man of indomitable courage, it was said of him that the only thing that he shied at was the sight of his own blood, which was thick and of unusual color. but undoubtedly the grimmest part of him was his iron claw. On the trail of the pirates come the redskins. They carry tomahawks and knives, but their naked bodies gleamed with paint and oil. Bringing up the rear, the place of the greatest danger, comes Tiger Lily, proudly erect, a princess in her own right. The redskins disappear as they have come like shadows, and soon their place is taken by the beasts, a great and motley procession, lions, tigers, bears, and innumerable smaller savages things that flee from them. For every kind of beast, and more particularly all the man-eaters, live cheek by jowl on the favorite island. Their tongues are hanging out, and they're hungry tonight. When they have passed, comes the last figure of all, a gigantic crocodile. The pirates disappeared among the trees, and in a moment the captain and Smee were alone. Hook heaved a heavy sigh. Most of all I want their captain, Peter Pan. 'Twas he that cut off my arm. He brandished the hook threateningly. I've waited long to shake his hand with this. Peter flung my arm to the crocodile that happened to be passing by. I have often, said Smee, noticed your strange dread of crocodiles. Not of crocodiles, Hook corrected him, but of that one crocodile. It liked my arm so much, Smee, that it had followed me ever since, from sea to sea and from land to land, licking its lips for the rest of me. I want Peter Pan, who first gave this brute his taste for me. He sat down on a large mushroom. Smee, he said huskily, that crocodile would have had me before this, but by a lucky chance it swallowed a clock, which goes tick, tick, tick inside of it. And so before it could catch me, I hear the tick and bolt. Someday, said Smee, the clock will run down, and then he'll get you. Hook wetted his dry lips. Aye, he said, that's the fear that haunts me. Oh. And there is the crocodile, waiting. And you see the pirate ship in the distance there? So, as brave and as ruthless as Captain Hook is, he's very afraid of that crocodile who swallowed that clock. And he always hears it nearby, ticking, tick, 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 tick. Here's a picture of Captain Hook and Smee. Smee's kind of like his partner. His right-hand man, as it was. Or, maybe in this case, his right hook man. Since sitting down, he had felt curiously warm. Smee, he said, this seat is hot. He jumped up. Odds bobs, hammers and tongues, I'm burning! They examined the mushroom. They tried to pull it up, and it came away at once in their hands, for it had no root. Stranger still, smoke began at once to ascend. The pirates looked at each other. A chimney! They both exclaimed. Huh? I thought that was a pillow he was holding. I didn't get a very good look. So he sat on that mushroom, like a chair, and underneath was a chimney top. That's why he felt so warm when he sat on it. There's that crocodile again. If you had thought to yourself that it looks like a dragon from that perspective, you're right. I thought it was a dragon the first time I saw it. But then I remembered, I don't think there are any dragons in Peter Pan. It's just about everything else. So now we are in chapter 7. Poor Wendy. They had indeed discovered the chimney of the underground home of the Lost Boys. It was the custom of the boys to stop it with a mushroom when enemies were in the neighborhood. Not only smoke came out of it, they also came in children's voices. For so safe did the boys feel in their hiding place that they were gaily chattering. The pirates listened grimly, and then replaced the mushroom. They looked around them and noted the holes in the 7 trees. Did you hear them say Peter Pan's from home? Smee whispered. Hook nodded. He stood for a long time lost in thought, and it was at last a curling smile lit up his swarthy face. Smee had been waiting for it. Unrip your plan, Captain, he cried eagerly. To return to the ship, Hook replied slowly, and cook a large, rich cake. There can be but one room below, for there is but one chimney. The silly moles had not the sense to see that they did not need a door apiece. We will leave the cake on the shore of the mermaids' lagoon. These boys are always swimming about there, playing with the mermaids. They will find the cake, and they will gobble it up. He burst into laughter. Ha ha ha! They will die. Ah ha ha ha! Smee listened with growing admiration. It's the wickedest, prettiest policy I have ever heard, he cried. And in their exultation they danced and sang. That is, they began to sing, but they never finished, for another sound broke in and stilled them. It was at first such a tiny sound that a leaf might have fallen on it and smothered it. But it came nearer with more distinct. Hook stood shuddering. The crocodile! He gasped, and bounded away, followed by his boatswain. It was indeed the crocodile. Later the boys emerged into the open once more. Nibs rushed breathless into the mists. I have seen a wonderful thing, he cried. A great white bird is flying this way, and as it flies it moans. Poor Wendy. See, it comes, said Curly, pointing to Wendy in the heavens. Wendy was now almost overhead, and they could hear her plaintive cry, but more distinct came the shrill voice of Tinker Bell. Hello, Tink, cried the boys in wonder. Tink's reply rang out. Peder wants you to shoot the Wendy. Quick, Toodles, quick, she screamed. Peder will be so pleased. Toodles excitedly fitted the arrow into his bow. Out of the way, Tink, he shouted, and then he fired, and Wendy fluttered to the ground with an arrow sticking out of her breast. Ooh. Tinkerbell said something not right. She lied. And she told the lost boys, Peder wants you to shoot Wendy and make her crash. I'm sure she'll be okay. Slightly, the first to speak. This is no bird, he said in a scared voice. I think it must be a lady. A lady, said Toodles, and we've killed her, Nibs said hoarsely. Now I see, Curly said. Peder was bringing her to us. A lady to take care of us at last. And one of the twins. And you've killed her. It was at this tragic moment they had heard Peder crow. Oh, that was one sound he always likes to do. Peder, they cried, for it was always thus that he signaled. There's Nibs, ready with his bow and arrow, shooting at what they called the white bird. Oh, and there's mischievous little Tinkerbell, pointing at her and saying, this is your target. Not cool at all, Tinkerbell. He used this to signal his return. They gathered hastily around Wendy to hide her. Great news, boys, Peder cried. I have brought at last a mother for you all. Have you not seen her? She flew this way. So they all stood back and let him see. She's dead, said Toodles. There was the arrow. Peder took it from her heart and faced his band. Whose arrow? He demanded sternly. Mine, Peder, said Toodles. Oh, dastard hand, Peder said, and he raised the arrow to use it as a dagger. Toodles did not flinch. Strike, Peder, he said firmly. Twice did Peder arise the arrow, and twice did his hand fall. I cannot strike, he said with awe. All looked at him in wonder, save Nibs, who fortunately looked at Wendy. The Wendy lady, see, her arm. Wendy had raised her arm. Then Peder knelt beside her and found his button. You remember she had put it on a chain that she wore around her neck. See, he said, the arrow struck against this. It is the kiss I gave her. It was what has saved her life. Then they had to tell Peder of Tink's crime, and almost never had they seen him look so stern. Listen, Tinkerbell, he cried. I am your friend no more. Begone from me forever. She flew onto his shoulder and pleaded, but he brushed her off. Not until Wendy again raised her arm did he reluctantly sufficiently to say, well, not forever, but for a whole week. "And if the Windy Lady lies there," Toodles said, "she will die." "Aye, she will die," Slightly admitted. "But there's no way out." "Yes, there is," cried Peder. "Let's build a little house round here." And in a moment they were as busy as tailors the night before a wedding. And while they were at it, who should appear but John and Michael? I was wondering where they were. You may be sure that they were very relieved to find Peder. "Curly," said Peder in his most captainy voice, "see that these boys are helped in the building of the house." The astounded brothers were dragged away to hack and hew and carry. The house was quite beautiful, but Peder strode up and down, ordering finishing touches. "There's no chimney," Peder said. "We must have a chimney." He snatched the hat off John's head, knocked out the bottom, and put a hat on the roof. The little house was so pleased to have such a capital chimney that its smoke immediately began to come out of the hat. Not really and truly, it was finished. The door opened, and a lady came out. It was Wendy. "Where am I?" she said slightly. There was the first to get his word in. "Windy Lady," he said rapidly, "for you we built this house." "And we are your children," cried the twins. They all went onto their knees, holding out their arms, and cried, "Oh, Windy Lady, be our mother." "Very well," she said, "I will do my best. Come inside at once, you naughty children. And I'm sure your feet are damp, and before I put you to bed, I have just time to finish the story of Cinderella." And that was the first of the many joyous evenings they had with Wendy. By and by she tucked them up in a great bed in the home under the trees, but she herself slept that night in the little house, and Peder kept watch outside with drawn sword, for the pirates could be heard carousing far away. All this reading is making me need to take a quick water break. Do you have some water nearby? Maybe you're thirsty too. I'll be right back. You go get some water too. Oh, that was refreshing. Remember what the crocodile means? Yep. A new chapter. Chapter 8. The Home Underground. One of the first things Peder did next day was to measure Wendy and John and Michael for hollow trees. Unless your tree fitted you, it was difficult to go up and down, and no two of the boys were quite the same size. But you simply must fit, and Peder measures you for your tree as carefully as for a suit of clothes. The children often spent long summer days on this lagoon, swimming or floating most of the time, playing games in the water and so forth. After rain, the mermaids would come up in extraordinary numbers to play with the bubbles. The bubbles of many colors, made in rainbow water, they treat as balls, hitting them gaily from one to another with their tails, and trying to keep them in the rainbow until they burst. It was one such day, and they were all Marooners Rock. Suddenly Peder, who could sniff danger, even in his sleep, sprang erect, and wide awake at once as a dog. "Pirates!" he cried. The others came closer to him. A strange smile was playing about his face, and Wendy saw it and shuddered. While that smile on his face no one dared address him, all they could do was stand ready to obey. The order came sharp and incisive. "Dive!" There was a gleam of legs, and instantly the lagoon seemed deserted. A boat drew, and it was the pirate dinghy, with 3 figures in her, Smee and Starkey, and the third a captive, no other than Tiger Lily. Her hands and ankles were tied, and she was to be left on the rock to perish. It was the work of one brutal moment to land the beautiful girl on the rock. Quite near the rock, but out of sight, 2 heads were bobbing up and down, Peder's and Wendy's. Wendy was crying, for it was the first tragedy she had seen. Peder had seen many tragedies, but he had forgotten them all. He was less sorry than Wendy for Tiger Lily. It was 2 against 1 that angered him, and he meant to save her. An easy way would have been to wait until the pirates had gone, but he was never one to choose the easy way. There was almost nothing he could do now, and he now imitated the voice of Hook. "Ahoy there, you lubbers!" he called. "The captain!" said the pirates, staring at each other in surprise. "He must be swimming out to us," Starkey said. And when they had looked for him in vain, we are putting the redskin on the rock," Smee called out. "Set her free," came the astonishing answer. "Free?" "Yes, cut her bonds and let her go." Hear that? Peter Pan is tricking Smee and Starkey. He's got the ability to make himself sound just like Captain Hook. And that's what he's doing now. "But Captain, hard once, dear me," cried Peter, "or I'll plunge my hook at you." "Aye, aye," Smee said, and he cut Tiger Lily's cords. At once, like an eel, she slid between Starkey's legs and into the water. "Boat ahoy!" rang over the lagoon in Hook's voice. But this time it was not Peter who had spoken. "Boat ahoy!" again came the voice. The real Hook was also in the water, and he was swimming to the boat. See, here's Mr. Smee, Princess Tiger Lily, and Starkey. Starkey's pretty tall, huh? Wendy saw his hook grip the boat's side. She saw his evil, swarthy face as he rose, dripping from the water, and quaking. She would have liked to swim away, but Peter wouldn't budge. He was tingling with life and also top-heavy with conceit. He signed to her to listen. The two pirates were very curious to know what had brought their captain to them, but he sat with his head on his hook in position of profound melancholy. "The game's up," he cried. "Those boys have found a mother." "Captain," cried Smee, "could we not kidnap these boys' mother and make it her own mother? Our own mother?" "It is a princely scheme," cried Hook. "We will seize the children and carry them to the boat. The boys we will make walk the plank, and Wendy shall be our mother." By this time they were on the rock, and suddenly Hook remembered Tiger Lily. "Where's the redskin?" he demanded abruptly. He had a playful humor at moment, but they thought this was one of the moments, which means they think he was joking with them. "That's all right, Captain," Smee answered complacently. "We let her go." "Let her go!" cried Hook. "'Twas your own orders," the boatswain faltered. "You called over the waters to us to let her go," said Starkey. Hook raised his voice, but there was a quiver in it. "Spirit that haunts the dark lagoon tonight," he cried, dost hear me?" Of course Peter should have kept quiet, but of course he did not. He immediately answered in Hook's voice. "Odds bobs, hammer and tongs, I hear you." "Who are you, stranger? Speak!" Hook demanded. "I am James Hook," replied the voice, "captain of the Jolly Roger." "You are not, you are not!" Hook cried hoarsely. "If you are Hook, come and tell me, who am I?" "A codfish," replied the voice. "Only a codfish." That's a silly trick that Peter Pan's playing on him, isn't it? "A codfish!" Hook echoed blankly. Suddenly, he tried the guessing game. "Hook," he called, "have you another voice?" Now Peter could never resist a game, and he answered blithely in his own voice. "I have." "And another name?" "Aye, aye." "Boy?" "Yes." "Ordinary boy?" "No." "Wonderful boy?" To Wendy's pain, the answer that rang out this time was yes. "Are you here?" "Yes, I am Peter Pan." Pan. In a moment, Hook was himself again. "Now we have him!" Hook shouted. "Take him dead or alive!" And simultaneously came the gay voice of Peter. "Are you ready, boys?" "Aye, aye!" from various parts of the lagoon. "Then let 'em into the pirates!" The fight was short and sharp. Hook rose to the rock to breathe, and at the same moment Peter scaled it on the opposite side. The rock was slippery as a ball, and they had to crawl rather than climb. Neither knew that the other was coming. Each feeling for the grip met the other's arm, and in surprise they raised their heads. Their faces were almost touching. Quick as thought as though Peder snatched a knife from Hook's belt and was about to drive it home when he saw that he was higher up on the rock than his foe. He would not have been fighting fair. He gave the pirate a hand to help him up. It was then that Hook bit him. Not the pain of this, but its unfairness is what dazed Peder. We got ourselves a little picture there. What'd you see? A pirate's skull. Arr! It made him quite helpless. He could only stare, horrified. Twice the iron hand clawed at him. A few minutes afterwards, the other boys saw Hook in the water, striking wildly for the ship. No elation on his pestilent face now, only white fear, for the crocodile was in dogged pursuit of him. The boys found the dinghy and went home into it, shouting, "Peder! Wendy!" as they went. Look, they're fighting. This is our last chapter for tonight. Chapter 9. The Happy Home. Great were the rejoicings when Peder reached the home under the ground almost as soon as Wendy. Every boy had adventures to tell, but perhaps the biggest adventure of all was that they were several hours late for bed. One important result of the brush on the lagoon was that it made the redskins their friends. Peder had saved Tiger Lily from a dreadful fate, and now there was nothing she and her braves would not do for him. At night they sat above, keeping watch over the home under the ground, and awaiting the big attack by the pirates, which obviously could not be much longer delayed. Even by day, they hung about, smoking the pipe of peace, and looking almost as if they wanted tidbits to eat. We have now reached the evening that was to be known among them as the Night of Nights. The day had been almost uneventful, and now the redskins and their blankets were at their posts above, while below the children were all in bed, listening to Wendy's story. The story they loved best, the story Peder hated. Usually when she began to tell this story, he left the room or put his hands over his ears. And possibly if he had done either of those things this time, they might have all still been on that island. But tonight, he remained on his stool. "Listen then," said Wendy, settling down into her story, with Michael at her feet and 7 boys in the bed. "There was once a gentleman—" "I'd rather he had been a lady," Curly said. "Quiet," their mother admonished them. "There was a lady also, and the gentleman's name was Mr. Darling, and her name was Mrs. Darling." "I knew them," John said, to annoy the others. "I think I knew them," said Michael rather doubtfully. "They had 3 children. Now these children had a faithful nurse called Nana. But Mr. Darling was angry with her and chained her up in the yard, and so all the children flew away. They flew away to Neverland, where the lost children are." "I just thought they did," Curly broke out in excitement. "I don't know how it is, but I just thought they did." "Oh, Wendy," cried Toodles, "was one of the lost children called Toodles?" "Yes, he was." "I am in a story! Hurrah!" "Hush! Now I want you to consider the feelings of the unhappy parents when all their children flown away." "Oh," they all moaned. She had now come to the part that Peder hated. "You see," Wendy said constantly, "our heroine knew that their mother would always leave the window open for her children to fly back by. So they stayed away for years and had a lovely time. See," says Wendy, pointing upwards. "There's the window sill standing open. They flew to their mummy and daddy, and pen cannot describe the happy scene over which we draw a veil. That was the story, and they were pleased with it." See, here's a picture of Wendy telling them the story. Do you see Peder's unhappy face? Yep, there he is. Now at this point, Wendy, John, and Michael have been with them for a long time, or so it feels. When Wendy finished, they heard a hollow groan. Oh. What is it, Peter? Wendy cried, running to him, thinking he was ill. Wendy, you are wrong about mothers, he said. Long ago, I thought like you, and my mother would always keep the window open for me. So I stayed away for moons and moons, and then flew back. But the window was barred, for Mother had forgotten all about me, and there was another little boy sleeping in my bed. I'm not sure that this was true, but Peter thought it was true, and it scared them. Wendy, let us go home, cried John and Michael together. Yes, she said. Not tonight, asked the lost boys, bewildered. At once, Wendy replied resolutely. Peter, will you make the necessary arrangements? If you wish it, he replied, and coolly as if she had asked him to pass the nuts. But of course he cared very much. The Redskins will take you through the forest, and Tinker Bell will take you across the sea. Wake her, Nibs, he ordered. Well, who's that nearby, do you think? The crocodile. All right. And that's where we stop our story for now. Whew. It's a bit longer than our usual folk tales, isn't it? Well, we only have 4 chapters left. I hope you've been enjoying this reading. And even though we had a couple flubs today, I've still had a lot of fun with you. On Friday, we will talk more about monsters. And we've learned a lot about what's going on with the background today. So we'll definitely be talking about that. And I want to give a little shout out to some awesome people that have really been helping me out. Like whenever I had a question or something was not going right with the show, they're always there for me. First would be Miss Palshu. She's the one that's been teaching me how to get the background up correctly. And another friend, we'll call him Cuddly Wolf. He's always been available to just be there for me and help with any other questions I might have that involves the technology and arrangements, and has given me some great ideas for the show sometimes. And then I have my mods, my moderators that come and keep the video safe for you. There's Fluffy and Guardian and Faith and Shady, of course. 4 main mods, and I'm very appreciative of them, for without them I couldn't have the courage to be putting all this together. And it's like I always say, teamwork is the way to get things done. So we will see you on Friday, and if you were wondering where Auntie was today, they're taking a little rest, but we'll be back on Friday because of course we can't have the show about monsters without Auntie. We'll see you next time. Have a great day. Remember, stay safe, be happy, and be healthy. Goodbye.